Say goodbye to yesterday. I wanna feel a different pain. Give me anything but this.
I'm at war with my soul, trying to learn what it means to die. I've been sinking and fading out of light, and I'm on the wrong side of it all. No direction that I go home. Can't you show me the writing in the sky? What do you see through hollow eyes? Is it black, is it white, or a million lies? Do you hear all the voices of those you despise? Tell me, tell me. Life is not just a game. It's a serious battlefield. All the bodies
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to another Friday. I'm digging it. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? My name, as always, is Neil Bridges, and thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this Friday morning. It's good to see everybody. Welcome to Tea with a Hacker. I have my lovely tea going on this morning. I hope you got your lovely tea going on this morning. I'm digging it. I'm digging it, man. Take a sip. Let's relish in the fact that we made it through another week. It is Friday. Some of you on the far side of the globe are finishing up your days. Those of you on the West Coast are just getting your days started here in the East. Likewise, we are starting our days. Good morning and welcome. Super excited to see everybody this morning. We are streaming live across multiple platforms: TikTok, Twitch, Kick, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, all the platforms. Say hello to everybody. Happy to see everybody. We have been changing the music up a little bit. I don't know if you saw yesterday. Yesterday we dropped in a little bit of that hard rock metalish kind of thing going on this morning. Or yesterday we kind of carried that over. I tried a different playlist on Spotify this morning. It didn't go quite as hard as yesterday, so have to research some hard rock playlists that I can use on Spotify that won't get me, DMCA striked. But enjoying the change of music. Let me know in chat if you like that change of music. A little different than some of the rap EDM stuff that we throw up here. This is our Friday morning AMA stream. What does that mean? We sit here, we chat from people all across the globe about all things cyber. AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. If this is your first time here, that's absolutely what we do. We encourage you to drop your questions into chat, whether they're about cybersecurity, career advice, hacking, blue team activity, whatever the case is. You want to know about my golf tour? I'm trying to position myself because my TikTok window is a little off. Oh well, TikTok will just have to deal. My TikTok window is a little off. Woohoo! Sorry, distracted, random. So basically, drop your questions into chat at any point in time across any of the platforms. Mods will grab a question into the infamous queue, regardless of the platform that it's on, where we have API support. Push it up on the screen. Good. I'm glad you like the music. I'll see it. I will answer it, and we will talk about it. We do have mods in chat. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to all of our mods. Mods are really, really important to this community. We have a very, very simple rule. It's no toxicity. Right? What does that mean exactly? We have zero tolerance for racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior in chat across any of the platforms. Mods are here to keep chat free of any of that content. They are not here, however. To stifle chat. Please, this is an opportunity for you to commune with your fellow cybersecurity peers across your respective platform, and therefore I encourage you to do so. It's a great opportunity to plug the Discord. Smash that exclamation point Discord in chat so you can get access to the Discord. Come on over there, hang out with us. Also, huge plug to my social media. My new social media manager, Jens Panzertank in chat. Dude has been killing it on social media, and so I want to give a huge shout out to him. Thank you so very much for your help on getting that content that we produce here on stream out into the ether for you all to consume as well. So with that being said, I got two asks. One, if I say something awesome or crazy or whatever, clip it in Twitch or on Kick or on YouTube. Unfortunately, you can't clip anything on LinkedIn. Clip it inside a Discord. We have a clips channel. Put it in there, tag Panzer Tank, and we'll get it up on the internet just in case we miss something on there. Secondly, thank you so very much to everybody who has been interacting with our content on social media. It means the world to me. It means the world to me. And so thank you so very much for that. I absolutely appreciate it. No Christmas gorilla? We can see if we can find a Christmas gorilla on YouTube really fast. Let's see if there's a Christmas gorilla on YouTube. Oh, there's a gorilla on YouTube. Oh man, do we got a Christmas gorilla? I usually try to find like a live channel. I can't get us a Christmas. Oh! There's kind of a Christmas gorilla. There you go. There's a wintertime Christmas gorilla. We'll do that one instead. We'll do the winter gorilla. So thank you so very much for chat. We'll change it out to the winter gorilla. If anybody's got a good live YouTube that's got a Christmas gorilla on it, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to see it. Questions coming in early, coming in hot over on the LinkedIn side. Ian over on LinkedIn says, with so many firewall vulns like the last two Palo Alto ones, do we need two different manufacturer firewalls on our edge these days? Great question. Great question. Hey, Fix-It42, glad to see you. So I understand the idea of the question, right? The question is like, holy cow, we got firewall vulnerabilities. Should we add some redundancy? It sounds great in theory, but listen, like if you're gonna buy duplicate, if you're gonna buy duplicate of a piece of technology simply because it has a vulnerability in it, are you gonna go buy a second iPhone? Are you going to go buy second laptops for everybody? Are you going to go buy second licenses of Windows for everybody? Are you going to buy everybody a Windows computer and a Mac computer just in case there's a Windows vulnerability that exists out there, right? If you take that analogy and expand it out, it doesn't really track, right? It doesn't really track for you to buy duplicative of a technology simply because vulnerabilities exist. And I don't think that you can say so many vulnerabilities, right? Let's be honest. How many is too many? Drop it in chat if you got an answer to that. How many, chat, across the respective platforms, wherever you hear my voice, how many vulnerabilities is too many? And I'll give you a hint. Don't keep typing. If you're typing right now, keep typing away. If you say 0, you're wrong. Right? I don't agree that one vulnerability is too many. Right? I don't there's the point of the matter is that there is no too many. Nobody's ever been able to decide that. Nobody. And I'll give you a great example of this. When I first got out of the Air Force and was working for Fidelity, large financial institution, it was right after their $50 million SunTrust breach. I'd come in on the cusp of remediation for that SunTrust breach, and the FFIEC was in there, right? And they were, doing one of the infinite number of freaking, audits that they do post breach. And they said, cool, let me see your vulnerability list. And so we showed them a Nexpose scan from Rapid7, and we had 1.5 million vulnerabilities. Fidelity's huge, massive. They're listed in the United States as critical infrastructure. The FFIEC said 1.5 million, that's too many. They didn't look at severity. They didn't look at likelihood. They didn't look at impact. They didn't look at where those vulnerabilities existed. They just simply looked at a number and said, that's too many. And we said, why? Well, what do you mean too many? How many is the right number? And they couldn't answer it. And you know why they couldn't answer it? Because there is no right number. There is no right number to how many vulnerabilities is too many vulnerabilities. And so I say all that to say, if you're going to make security decisions based on vulnerabilities, you might as well shut down the whole company. Shut it down. I'm going to call Matt up. Matt, we're done. We can't have any vulnerabilities on the internet. We can't have any vulnerabilities at all anywhere in the company. Shut the company down. Right? It's not attainable exercise. If you're going to buy technology based simply on the amount of vulnerabilities that have been released into the public, that's not an effective cybersecurity strategy. Not an effective cybersecurity strategy, right? I say all that to say, right, like, you do not need two different manufacturers of edge firewalls. You don't need two different PCs. You don't need two different iPhones. You don't need two of anything simply because one company is having a streak of vulnerabilities. What you need to do is you need to beef up your response efforts. You need to use this. And again, I go back to my military analogies, right? This is where that military mindset really comes into play, right? If somebody is attacking a potentially weak spot that you didn't know of, go and beef it up. Go and be more proactive. Go and look and say, what can you do to harden that area? What are some mitigating controls that you can do to make any form of impact less impactful or less likelihood? Remember, cybersecurity is a risk management game. You are never going to get to zero. You will never get to zero vulnerabilities. You will never get to zero attacks. You will never get to zero successful phishing attempts. You will never get to zero successful password compromises. You will never get to zero. So what do you do instead? Beef up your defenses, solidify your response strategy, right? Love that question, Ian. Thank you so very much for that. Appreciate that. Raphael over on LinkedIn says, is Flipper Zero worth getting? I mean, if you listen, the Flipper Zero conversation is funny, right? I've had an SDR for years, right? And I've been playing with radio. Maz and I were talking about this in Discord last night, right? Like, radio frequencies are something incredibly fun to play with. And I can remember the first time that I went to a DEF CON and somebody had brought a homemade cell tower into DEF CON and it hijacked all the GSM phones in the room for like 3.5 seconds until they turned it off so the FCC wouldn't come in and arrest them, right? And I say all that to say, like, the Flipper Zero isn't new. Like, it's not a, oh my God, the world is ending type of technology, right? It's an SDR. It's a software-defined radio that they've packaged up into a nifty little handheld, tier one type of gadget. It's fun to play with. It's gimmicky. But if you're, so this gets back to use cases, right? Let's talk about the use cases. So you buy a Flipper Zero. What's your use case? You want to be annoying at the airport? Ooh, you're such elite score hacker playing with things at the airport, right? Oh, you want to go to the grocery store and make the door on the store open and close on people. Ooh, you're such elite sauce hacker, right? Come on, let's be realistic. If your use case is, oh, well, I want to learn about software-defined radio, then go buy a software-defined radio, right? You can buy the training wheels version in the Flipper Zero, and I'm not knocking the Flipper Zero. Like, it's a fun gimmick. It's a fun gadget, right? But you're not going to learn about software-defined radio from the Flipper Zero. So what's your objective? Is your objective to think that is it a party trick? Like, come on, all right, I'm going to hurt some of your feelings, right? Are you using it so you can have a party trick amongst all your friends? Oh, look what I can do with the TV. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I'm such a lead score hacker. I mean, seriously, like, be realistic with what your use case is, right? If it's really to learn software-defined radio, then go learn software-defined radio. There's tons of information out there. It's been out there for years. Flipper Zero is not net new technology. Go have fun with software-defined radio. Don't get arrested. Lord, as Maz and I were talking about, right? Like, software-defined radio is fun. It's also an arrestable offense, at least here in the U.S. But just, my cynicism, right? I want to make sure you understand this, right? The question on, LinkedIn is Flipper Zero worth getting? I mean, I can't tell you whether something is worth getting or not. You have to decide your own value. You're here spending time with me on a Friday. My information must be worth something. But I can't tell you whether it's worth the financial cost of a Flipper Zero. What's your objective? And that's what I'll always ask you. If you do a coaching session with me and you ask me a question, I will always ask you, what's your objective, right? If your objective is to be a nuisance and to try to create a party trick for your friends at the bar on a Friday night, no, it's not worth getting. That's a dumb idea. Sit down. Go back to school, right? If your objective is to learn software-defined radio, it's a fantastic, training wheels to see the art of the possible for software-defined radio, but there are better, more thorough technologies out there. Thank you, Cyber Ties. You put the words right in my mouth, right? Hack RF1. That's what I've had for years. That's what I use. That's what I go by. I love the Hack RF1. Much more versatile, much more in depth. It's like if Flipper Zero is CEH, Hack RF1 is OSCE. Let's put it that way. The Flipper Zero is the CEH of cyber gadgets. There, I said it. Right? Don't clip that one and put that one on the internet. I might get in trouble for that one. I just want to clone my hotel keys to my phone so I don't have to fumble around for the little card. Hashtag real use cases right there. Hashtag real use cases right there. I just want a Flipper Zero to clone my hotel cards so I don't have to fumble around. Speaking facts. Speaking facts right there. MC Nerd Dad says, I'm halfway through my ethical hacking essentials course. Then leverage AI to write Python programs that can be used to grab info from users' computers. My question is, should I have started with more basic network knowledge first, or does it matter and just get started? Just get started. Just get started. Order of operations to me, I don't think is fundamentally important. I know that that's super controversial when it comes to like, in what order should you learn things? Again, if I share with you my experience, right? I started at when I was coming up, right, in the 90s and the 2000s, Windows and networking was the way that people got into IT, right? You were a system administrator, you were building networks, you were maintaining networks. And so network knowledge was how I got started, right? When my first classes in the Air Force, when they sent me to tech school, were CCNA and CCNP and CCIE level classes in the Air Force, right? And so like my entire upbringing in IT and technology started from networking. And if you remember a couple streams ago, this is why I talk about, right? Like I don't have a very strong web app pen testing background. I've got a massive network pen testing, social engineering, Windows type of attacks and TTPs and things like that. But I don't have a massive, web vulnerability, web, pen testing, JavaScript, like something that's not very familiar with me. And that's because of my upbringing, right? And so I definitely think, I definitely think that there's, there's multiple ways to go about it. It's whatever kind of graduates you one way or the other, makes you kind of move into a particular direction where you feel like, oh, this really helps propel my understanding, or this helps propel my knowledge, right? Into this area. I do not think there is a right or wrong way in which to go about these. I promise you that. I know coding gets a lot of praise in this industry. People talk about going from coding into hacking. I think that that's viable. I've got a 0 day to my name. I've done tons of exploit development. I was working on exploit development writing with the NSA when I was in there. And so like there's it's not to say that like coding isn't important, but I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to move it through there, right? And so like I applaud the question, but this is gonna be one of those times where it's like there isn't I should have started with basic networking knowledge. You should know. Everybody should know some networking. Everybody should know some programming. But notice, pay attention to the words I'm using. Should. Not must, not has to, not you're effed if you don't. None of that. It should. You should have an understanding. You should have a knowledge. But it's absolutely not required. Absolutely not required. Hold on for a second. I'm getting it's Friday. I'm getting one of those pings from work. So just let's take just 4 seconds to just verify that the world is not on fire really fast. Okay. The world is not on fire. Good. The world's not on fire. We're good. All right. Fantastic. But I don't think that there's like a should. I would remove the should from your question and go with what makes it happy. The world is not. There's a lot going on in the world. We're not here to talk about any of that per se, to that extent. But my work world is not on fire. Chris coming in hot with a couple of questions here. Let's pick one from Chris. Chris says, I was a fool yesterday, got an email from what appeared to be a recruiter asking me to reply to the email to schedule time for an interview. It wasn't on my tracker sheet, but I replied. Then it automated a new email to register for some platform. Never seen that before. I went back to look at the sender's email. I should have checked before replying. Hope everyone I've been emailing is safe. Change passwords to factor. Hey, don't feel silly. Don't feel silly. Let's be 100% honest. A well-crafted email to anybody. I do not care who you are listening to this stream now, in a VOD, on a short, on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. 100% of you who hears my voice now or at some infinite time in the future is 1,000% likely to fall victim to some scam, phishing email, or other ruse. Nobody, zero, nobody is immune to it. A well-crafted email at the right time, motive and opportunity happens to everybody. And let's use that as an example. I would be willing to wager a good amount of free vouchers to some content that you could equate 90% of the hacks out in the world to a well-crafted email at the right time. That's it. A well-crafted email at the right time. You could even extrapolate even further. I would say this too. Fight me on this in chat if you don't agree with this. But timing is literally the #1 indicator of a successful cyber attack. Timing. More than anything else, timing is the #1 indicator of a successful cyber attack. And I say that because, I think that there is this mindset that when somebody gets hacked, they crack some mysterious code. And what I would argue is that they got the timing right of the attack. And so don't feel bad. It happens to everybody. And if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. But don't feel bad. And again, emotion, like, let's be realistic. When we talk about a cyber incident, and if you missed it yesterday, go watch Noah's interview yesterday when we talk about what happens during a cyber incident. And the wife and I talk about this pretty frequently. You know, those of us who are ADHD and you know, slightly, you know, probably a little weird in the head, right, from a neurological perspective, we respond very, very well to pressure. And so I bet you had your best response strategy you ever did when you realized you messed something up, because you kept calm, you double-checked your response procedures, you went and took remediation actions, and you added it to your lessons learned. Congratulations. You've done an incident response strategy. I'm super proud of you. Right? That's the best that you can hope for. But listen, like I think the message that I would bring away with you, and this comment here is spot on, right? This comment here is spot on. If you attack when the SOC team's transitioning, there's a small window when nobody will be there to respond. You'll technically have most transition teams, most SOC transitions, they have a stand-up. Most stand-ups are a pretty good time when nobody's watching the alerts going on. That is absolutely an example of well-timed cyber attacks. During end of year, listen, the holidays are massive. We're coming into holiday season. From now until January, actually, I would argue from now until January 15th, and then there'll be a small break from January 15th to April 15th. But kind of like these two windows are the biggest cyber attack season. And you heard it from Noah yesterday. He talked about, like, you know, for the last few years that he's been at BitLift, they've had big October surprises from a cyber attack perspective. When I was at Abbott, we had our own, you know, kind of superstition. We always ended up with a major cyber attack around the Christmas time period. Something major always ended up happening around Christmas, right? That window is there because that is the time in which cyber attacks are most likely. Why do you think that is? Drop in chat why you think maybe now until January 15th or January 15th till April 15th, why do you think that those are the best timed attacks that exist? I'll give you my opinion. I mean, it's not really an opinion. I think it's really based on facts, right? This time period, right? This time period at the end of Q4, everybody's going on holiday, which means that staffing levels are down. People are shopping, which means that they are clicking on every advertisement in their email. They're all the time looking for deals. There's somebody out there who's waiting literally until the last minute to go shopping. And so they will literally click on anything that they can in the last minute to get it done. If you're like my wife, God bless her soul, I love her so much, but she literally waits until the last minute to order food from the catering for Thanksgiving dinner with the family next week, right? So if you really wanted to ransomware my wife, send her some last minute catering stuff right now, because now would be the perfect time to ransomware her, right? I'm just kidding. That's not an advocate to go ransomware my wife. I'm just saying timing is everything. This time of the year, everybody is distracted. Everybody is distracted with everything else. And so when their mind isn't thinking about cyber, and we're not saying that they should, it makes it really a vulnerable time for people, right? Let's go to January to the April 15th. Take a look at that window, right? The January 15th, April 15th window. You know why that one's the most attacked period, at least here for the US, right? Because people are doing their taxes. Taxes is the next biggest fraud scam moneymaker that exists out there. Right? And that's an indiscriminate crime. They're not stealing from you per se. They're trying to steal from the government. I've had my taxes fraudulently submitted by somebody. I don't remember how much they got, but I had somebody fraudulently submit taxes on my behalf a couple years back to get money. Because there is such a high voluminous amount of data coming at you, the consumer, but also going to the IRS, it looks like normal traffic, and the best way to stay hidden in 99.9% of cyber attacks is to look like all the other traffic. Right? Sean Spence over in LinkedIn. Good to see you, buddy. Hope your job search is going well. Hope your job search is going well. Bill over on YouTube says, hey all, I'm a student in Europe. I already do CTFs in some boxes, also things in my uni. But how do I get good? I know time, but are there any technical tips that I should know about? The ye old get good question. This is why you guys come to the stream. Or at least this is why I lie to myself when I wake up in the morning and come up here and stream that you come to the stream. You don't want me to just answer this yes or no. Because I could just answer this yes or no. It would be an easy yes or no question. The answer is not yes or no. And I'll give you a story because that's what I love. We love stories here on the stream, and I'll give you a story, right? How do I get good? I wish I had my golf coach here with me because my golf coach would be rolling on the floor laughing at this question. How do I get good? As you can tell, we went a little overboard with the studio, right? We've got good cameras. We've got good mics. We have a very professional setup. We spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort into making a high quality stream. When we bring guests on, we try to have standards as much as possible. You know, working with Maz for some stuff that's coming up in the future. We're trying to build a good, high quality studio-ish, if you will, to really, present to some of these conferences, right? It takes effort to be good. When I talk about a story with my golf coach, I'm very, very used to doing things exceptionally well, to a fault, to a characteristic fault. And so when I started this golf journey almost 20 months ago, I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but I said to myself, self, you're a badass. You're a badass and you can do what nobody else can do. And so myself said to myself, that means that I'm going to be professional level golf end of a couple years. And I went into this journey with that mentality in my mind that I'm going to grind so hard. Oh, it takes 1,000 hours to be good at something. I'm going to grind 10,000 hours. I'm going to go to the golf course every day. I'm going to go to the golf course 3 times a day. I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to do them over the top because I want to get good faster. I know that Justin Thomas has been playing golf since he was 4. I know that Tiger Woods got a golf club in his hand when he was 5. Right? I know Rory McIlroy was watching Tiger Woods when he was 5 and then immediately went out and started to learn how to play golf when he was that age. I know those guys have been playing for 20 years, but give me 2. And I'm just going to grind so hard. I'm going to be the best in 2 years. You know why? Because I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to hit it really hard. And it took a lot of failure to realize that not everything can be forced into submission simply by throwing more time, money, or effort at it. There are things that just take time. There are things that just take time. And that's not a function of you. That's not a function of your ability to learn. That's not a function of your ability to not learn, your inability to learn. That's not a function of whether you can make it in this career field. The amount of DMs that I get from people who say, Neil, I'm never going to get it. I don't understand this. I must suck at this career field. I'm never going to make it in. Those are people who are letting the time dictate their ability to be proficient in something. Right? There are just some things in this industry that take time. Go back and watch the video that Jens put up on YouTube the other day, right? 18 minutes a day. I've gotten better at golf, and I'll tell you, like when I first got the simulator, I would not put less than 1,000 strokes a day on the simulator. I went to the doctor one time. I'd gotten a scan. I went to the doctor one time, and they were reading out my scan results, and the doctor said, "You been playing a lot of golf, Neil?" And I laughed, and I said, "Yeah, how can you tell?" He said, "Because your hands are swollen." He could see from the scan the inflammation in my hands of how much I was swinging a golf club. And after taking a step back, listening to my coach, realizing that it's going to take time and that I need to be the most efficient with that time, and I needed to practice the right things with that time, I went from 1,000 strokes a day to still about 300, 400, or 500, depending on the day, but now they're very specific. Now they're very targeted. Now it's very goal-oriented with progress steps in mind. And that has done more to transform my game than I thought with everything that I was doing before. And so I say all that to answer this question, how do you get good? Consistent. Let's say it together. How do I get good? Consistent, repeatable, focused training. Consistent, repeatable, focused training. That's how you get good. Doesn't matter whether it's golf, cyber, reverse engineering malware, writing exploit code. Doesn't matter. That's my take on getting good. Great question. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love that question. Thank you so much for that. Consistent, repeatable, focused training. Thank you so much, Mr. Obvious. Mr. Obvious, got to agree with that fact. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. That's a cute name. I love that one. It does. Hard work does have to be synced up with the overall goal. That's why I said, like, have a target in mind and then have that consistent, repeatable, focused training working towards that goal. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Great question, though. Listen, if you're already that far down, Bill, you're doing a great job. You are absolutely doing a great job. CyberTie says, thoughts on TCM security? I've been looking for more hands-on training certifications, and they seem to be prioritizing that. So again, I flowchart this, right? If you're going to look to buy training, understand that their goal is to separate you from your money. Period, dot, into discussion. If you're going to buy training, it doesn't matter who the company is, their goal is to separate you from your money. So first and foremost, once we've acknowledged that every company out there that sells some form of training, their goal is to separate you from your money, that means that you need to realize first and foremost that their goal isn't to see you succeed. Their goal is to make money. Once you've acknowledged that, then you can look at the content and ask yourself, do you feel this is an investment you're willing to make in their luxuries for your career? Let's start framing these things the right way. You're investing in their luxuries for your career. Because if you want hands-on training and you don't want to pay for it, there are plenty of free resources. Plenty of free, again, rule one, folks. Rule one. What is rule one? Drop it in chat if you know what rule one is. Right? Rule one, do the free shit first. Right? Do the free shit first. That should be rule number one. If you have exhausted every free thing that exists out there, and you still feel like you want more hands-on stuff, and you want to challenge yourself, why don't you go build something? And then, if you still feel you need more after that, then perhaps you can self-assess yourself and decide, do you want to give somebody your money for you to go forth and be awesome? And again, I'm not knocking on any singular company. I want you to be realistic with yourselves. I'm done advocating for training companies. I will never take another dime from any training company for promotions on this channel, for careers. I will never work for another training company. I am completely done with that business. I've been a SANS instructor. I was chief content officer at INE. I've done education. My dad was a high school teacher. My dad taught for university. Education's been in my blood, my stream, and I hate the status of today's education space, especially preying upon people who want to better their life. F the education and training space right now. Everybody is in it for a money grab. Everybody. The only exception to that is I'll give John Strand some credit. He provides a pay what you can, which is the next best thing to a free. And I've taught with John at SANS. John and I were good friends, you know, back when I was at SANS, right? You know, that's an acceptable model. But understand, he has that, but he also has I want to separate you from your money cost. Recognize it for what it is, right? Does it take time to create content? Absolutely. It's taking time out of my day for me to sit here and share stuff with you. Does it take time for John to create courses? Absolutely, it takes time for John to create courses. You should decide, is it worth you separating yourself from your money for John's effort? This one right here, this is the thing I always advocate for. You should do the free stuff first because your company should be paying for your education. If your company wants you to get skills on the job, that should include paying for your education. Hands down, period, dot, end of discussion. When people ask me like, oh, should I go get a SANS course? Not out of your own pocket. Make your company pay for it. That's fine. We can go down this rabbit hole. Let's talk about what beloved means. And listen, we just had somebody yesterday who is currently a director of security operations talking about how security certifications are BS. Yeah, I know Jens clipped it. I know it's going to show up on socials sometime soon. Right? Certifications are BS. They don't mean anything on the day-to-day job. They don't. They literally mean shit. And the day-to-day responsibility. And this is why it wasn't like it used to be. If you talked to me in 2000 and when did I get out of the Air Force? I got out of the Air Force in 2013. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, when I was neck deep in everything, you know, at the Air Force, and we were pioneering some net new content with SANS, you know, specifically for the .mil courses. SANS was the Harvard and MIT of certifications. But people realized quickly, right, that there's nothing proprietary about that knowledge. Right? The reason that I hate this thought process, and I understand a lot of you, like listen, let's be realistic. This is Neil's opinion. But if you go and look at folks that we've had on stream, and I try, like you can talk to any mod. I go out of my way to find people that disagree with me. And we've had a lot of controversial people on stream. But every person who's come on stream has unequivocally said that the number one way to get a job in this industry, and this goes back to 2020 when I first started streaming, is networking. It's not certifications. It's not trying to trick HR to get to an interview. It's not trying to get past gatekeepers. Every single person who has ever been on this stream has said the number one way for you to get a job interview is networking. Some of you don't want to believe it. Some of you only want to believe that a piece of paper, some piece of paper that said that you consumed some knowledge and you somehow regurgitated into a question and answer format, somehow that makes you qualified for a job. Instead, you think that is better than having somebody who can vouch for you go to the recruiting and the hiring manager and say, you need to hire John. Somehow you all miss that in every person we have on this stream because you still think a piece of paper qualifies you in this world. Look in the mirror. You all are your own worst enemies when getting a job. There, I said it. You all get in your own way in finding employment. Oh, if I just paid another company $200 that I don't have for another piece of paper for external validation, somebody will see me as worthwhile. Go say that to yourself in a mirror. Go look yourself in an eye and say, I need to pay for somebody else's luxury life for me to feel validated. And look yourself in the mirror when you say it. I need to go give somebody else a Ferrari or a Lambo or a big mansion with a pool or a holiday vacation. I need to go provide that for them so that I can feel like I'm worth it. Ask yourself if you still feel good when you go say yourself that. Right? Because that's what a lot of you are thinking. Hate to be, I can't even say that with a straight face. I don't hate to be the bearer of bad news. But that's probably why my views are so low, right? That's probably why my views are so low. My views are so low because I'm not out here, taking dollars from companies to tell you to go take their certs. I'm not out here telling you to go buy a Flipper Zero and change TVs in the airport, right? You're here because you realize that the other advice is bullshit. And I'm the only one here willing to tell you how it is. So thank you for owning up that you need somebody to tell you the truth. Oh. Maz, Cynical Neil has arrived at the party. Cynical Neil has arrived to the party. Are phone interviews and technical interviews commonplace? And do you have any recommendations to a person doing it for their first time? Absolutely. You should 1,000%. You should 1,000% expect to do technical, non-technical interviews, especially if you're going into a technical role. I wish you'd asked this question yesterday. I wish you were on yesterday, because this would have been a great question, Z Jr., to ask Noah, who we had yesterday, right? I'm sure if we'd asked him like some of the questions that he asked folks, you would see a mix of technical and non-technical. Jens, I hope you don't mind if I rat you out a little bit. I hope you don't mind if I rat you out a little bit here. You know, Jens has been going through some stuff. I don't want to tell anything specific, but we've been prepping Jens for hopefully the next big step of his career. And as we're post war rooming his interviews that he's having, we literally just said the other day, one of the common things is that the further you get into that interview process, the less technical it becomes and the more business and interpersonal it gets. Why? Because at some point in time, the technical becomes just kind of like a status quo. Right? Like, do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know this? Cool. If you know this, if this is the bare minimum, if this is the baseline that you know, we can do anything else above that. What we need to figure out now is, do you fit in? Can you work with the rest of the team? Can you bring innovative ideas? How collaborative are you? Are you going to be an asshole? Right? I would argue, like, I think sometimes some of you get so caught up that you think that a technical interview that you're going to have is going to be like, a master's thesis or a PhD thesis for, like, I don't know, something crazy. Right? When I can unequivocally tell you, most technical interviews, 90% of the technical interviews that I've seen, done, led, or been a part of, most people have a line, call it a minimum height to ride this ride line. And they'll ask you questions right up until that line. But then everything else out of that is like, okay, you've met that height. Now we need to know how you're going to be working with us. And so, yes, there will be a mix. There will absolutely be a mix of phone, technical, tactical, personal. I don't mean personal like, what's going on in your personal life, but they're going to want to know who you are. What have you done? Things like that. And then at some point in time, it's not about what you know, it's about what you bring to the team. Right? And so I would encourage you that if you're practicing, somebody said it best. I think Cybertie said it in chat. Somebody said it in chat. I saw it scroll across my screen really fast. Oh God, I can't find it now. Oh well. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Cybertie said it. Expect to feel absolutely drained preparing and after those interviews. A bajillion %. A bajillion %. Good interviews will drain you because they will branch the spectrum of your technical and non-technical knowledge. Right? And so absolutely, unequivocally, you will get absolutely drained. You should prepare technically. Like here's what I tell people about preparing for interviews. And this is coming from a past life exam crammer, right? Cramming for an interview doesn't work. Good interviewers will know whether you're bullshitting them or not during the interview process. This is why I've turned against certifications, right? This is why I turned against certifications, right? Because a good interviewer will fish out your bullshit. Hands down. That's probably why so many of them have kind of gone to this like minimum level of acceptance when it comes to interviews. Because it's like, if you know to here, you're either good or you're not good. Now we just need to figure out if you're going to fit into the team. And so it doesn't do you any good to cram for a technical interview. You either know it or you know it when you show up. If you're not prepared for the interpersonal style of that interview, you don't realize how quickly you could disqualify yourself from a role. Hands down, 100%. I don't think some of you realize that. You can absolutely disqualify yourself for a role, regardless of your technical acumen, because you failed a cultural part of an interview. You may not like that answer. You may not like that answer, but it is true. Hiring managers want to make sure you're going to fit in. I'm not talking about discrimination. This isn't some subtle play on, discriminatory actions by any stretch of the imagination. I know sometimes it may feel like that to you on the receiving end, but I can assure you it's not discrimination. There is a team that you are going into. That team has a cohesion and it has a culture. And they have to ask themselves if bringing you into that team is going to be disruptive in the wrong way. Hear it outright. Dosco says it best, right? I could teach you cider. It takes a long time to teach you not to be a jerk. And so they have to ascertain if your presence is going to have a negative disruption, right? Is going to have a negative disruption on the team. Right? I think some of you forget that there's a lot more to an interview process than simply just, are you technically competent? Hold on, resetting TikTok. There we go. All right. A couple questions came in from LinkedIn that I want to kind of hit. I'm not ignoring LinkedIn. I appreciate you guys over there. Andrew says, do you think PMP is good? I think project management knowledge is good. I think the PMP can kind of go either way, but I think project management is absolutely key. What about combining networking with the dreaded certs? Absolutely. If networking is on your proverbial to-do list and you're doing certs to gain the knowledge, 10 of 10 approves that strategy. Go forth and be awesome. Sean, Lori, Lori, I miss you. I hope you're doing awesome. Sean says, how about the always asked question of what or how did you react to an incident? This question is always asked, and there isn't a clear answer that would apply towards the business you are interviewing with. And so I want to answer that question a couple different ways. Because I also think, and again, some of you, let's be realistic. Some of you are looking for the perfect answer. I'm not saying you are, Sean, but some of you, when you ask questions like this, you think that there's going to be an answer that's going to be a magic skeleton key to everything, right? And I can unequivocally tell you that in the interview, and this is why I tell you guys not to judge yourself based on interviews, right? People are looking for something when they interview you. Period. Dot. End of sentence. They're looking for something. And so when they ask you how you would handle, I would presume, a cyber incident, they are absolutely looking to ask themselves if the way that you would hire or the way that you would handle a cyber incident is the way that they see it working in their company. That's it. There's no magic to it. There's no sleight of hand. They've probably had incidents inside of their company. They've seen how the company culture has responded to an incident, and they have developed a mindset that says, we need this type of person who can handle incidents a way inside of our company. You have no answer for that. What you have is your answer for it, and you have to realize that if your answer doesn't fit what they're looking for, that is okay, because you would likely fail in that environment anyway. Think about that for a second. How would you handle an incident? I would come in there with a wrecking ball. I would, wake everybody up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's all hands on deck. We're going to figure out, how this happened. We're going to get everything, we're going to get all cylinders fired up. And then in the after action, we're going to go through and scorch dirt the entire company and remediate everything within the first 24 hours. You may get some companies that look at that and they go, yes, that is 1,000% what we need in this company. You're hired. And you may get some people that look at that and go, that's not going to fly here. That's going to be not good for us here. And they're going to say, sorry, you're not the right fit. You're going to ask yourself, are you the problem or are they the problem? And that's a hard question to have to self-reflect on in an incident, right? That's a hard question to have to self-reflect on. But at the end of the day, if that's your answer to responding to an incident and they're like, I don't know that that's going to work here, then think about what your life would be like inside of that organization if you went into a place knowing that you had a deep down-hearted passion for fixing cybersecurity incidents, and that company was a little bit more lackadaisical. They didn't want to upset people. They didn't want to ruffle feathers. Right? How are you going to be successful in that organization? I love this, Callie. Thank you, Callie, for asking this question. I'm glad somebody did. Right? Why does not matching an org be a problem? So let's talk about two types of not matching an org. Right? I've been hired by people who have said, I want you here because of your controversial way of handling things, because we need to shake up the organization because it doesn't think like you. My response to that interview question is, good. Are you going to provide me with the support and the top cover to ensure my success? That's an okay conversation to have in the interview process to decide if you want to take on that challenge. That's a mature response to that. I come in, fire brimstone. We're going to get everybody up at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're going to work 24 hours straight until that incident is solved, and then we're going to remediate all vulnerabilities in the first 24 hours. And the hiring manager looks at you and says, yes, that is what we need. We need that in this organization. I want to hire you. And you're like, cool, but are you going to provide me with the resources, the top cover, and the executive level support to make it happen? And if they're like, I mean, I'll do my best, but it's really challenging around here, and blah 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 blah. And pull parachute and get out. Right? Because again, you want to be. Listen, some of you think you want a job. What if I were to tell you you don't want a job, you want to be successful? I go back to Joe Fulton, our Lord and Savior, right? Joe Fulton said it best. Do you want to be right or do you want to win? You don't want a job, you want to be successful. You should go into orgs where you're going to be successful. You should not go into orgs just for a job. Lots of good questions coming through. Keep them coming. I love it. I love it. I don't mind. Like there, I saw Lori asked over. Yeah, Lori said we need a technical interview practice platform. We had a thought on this stream. Drop it in chat if you still think this is a good idea. We had a thought on this stream a couple years back about doing live interviews on stream. We kind of built out a framework for it to kind of do them. I thought about bringing that back. Sometimes interviews can be a little controversial because you highlight flaws in people sometimes, and sometimes they don't want those flaws broadcast all over the internet. So we're still kind of working towards it. But you're right. We do need a better way to practice interviews. Purple over on Twitch says, "Hey Neil, thanks for sharing your experience. I'm attending DeepSec in Vienna. Love it. Love seeing our folks from across over on the Europe side. Wanted to ask you how to improve the networking skills in these events. It's a key to open new opportunities and get the max out of the experience." 1000%. Like, unequivocally think that in-person events are fantastic network opportunities. But let's there's again, probably why I don't have a bajillion viewers on my fucking shit. Anyway, cynical Neil in place, right? Because I'm not like, go to DEF CON, it's the best place to network. Unless you're an introvert. Unless you fundamentally have a hard time walking up to strangers and being like, "Hi, I'm Neil." You know why I know that? Because I can't do that. I know that may be shocking to you. Jeff and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I can sit here and talk to the hundreds of strangers that come view me every single time we stream. If you put me at DEF CON or Black Hat, I would never walk up to a single person that I knew and be like, "Hi, I'm Neil." I struggle with it. I say that to say I struggle with it. And so like, they are fantastic places to meet people, but if you don't have that self-anointed ability to walk up to random strangers and introduce yourself, it's very hard. It's a very hard thing to execute on. Just calling it how it is. It's just super hard to execute on. So instead, what I like to preach about in-person activities is to have a plan, right? Is to have a plan. So if you watch my socials, you may not notice it when you look at my socials, but what I try to do is I try to pre-set up meetings with people that I know. You're going to get this is cyber secrets. This is behind the mind of an introvert, right? So the last time I went to Black Hat and DEF CON, obviously I made it very well known that I was going to Black Hat and DEF CON, and I solicited meeting opportunities with people that I knew, right? So I would organize, hey, I'm going to be at this bar at this time. I'm going to be at this hotel at this time. I'm going to be attending this event. I'm going to be doing these things. That way I didn't have to go up to people to introduce myself. We could all meet in a neutral fashion, and we could all introduce ourselves in a neutral fashion. And I didn't have to give in to my anxiety on meeting new people. And hopefully I created an environment where new people could come meet me that would break down their anxiety. And this is why I offer people to do meet and greets with me when I go visit their towns, because it creates an opportunity where us introverts don't feel bad, if you will, from having to like blindly walk up to strangers and be like, "Hi, I'm Neil." And so, yes, go to events. Please go to local events. Go to the small events. Go to the little meetups in the restaurant. Go to the small cybersecurity conferences in your small town. Go to the B-Sides events. But be strategic in how you go to them. Find other people who have taken this strategy and they create small groups. And they're like, hey, there's 4 of us that are going to go out to dinner. It's a perfect opportunity for you to go on a small level, get introduced to 4 people. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I can kind of dig that. And then maybe you go to, a couple of them are going to go to Topgolf. Maybe there's like 10 or 15 of them that are going to go to Topgolf. You suck at Topgolf, but who cares? It's a networking event. Go and be part of that small to 10 to 15% of things, right? Absolutely. Be smart, because it is hard. Like this is a double-edged sword of a strategy. Go to networking events, meet people, but if you're an introvert, I can't emphasize enough the need to have a plan. Because you're going to find yourself at a conference and you're going to be like, wow, there's so many people here. Oh, look, there's John Hammond. Oh, I'm too scared to go talk to him. I promise you, John's not going to bite you. John's not going to be like, why are you coming up to me? None of us in the community that have any stature or standing, have any level of popularity, I can assure you that nobody in this industry would look at you as a nuisance for coming up to them at all, period. I'll bet you a paycheck on it, right? Nobody would do it. Because they want to talk to you. They want to network with you. They want to know who you are. They want to share ideas with you. They want to commune with you as a fellow cybersecurity person. The reason I love doing these for the last 4.5 years is because I love communing with cybersecurity folks. I just also know it's hard for you, and that's okay. If you see me, come up and talk to me, introduce yourself to me. I promise you we'll talk for hours. I'll sit there and I'll talk to you for as long as I got time to. Speaking of which, speaking of travel, speaking of coming up and seeing me, if you do happen to see me in and around your area, let me give you some some places where I'll be. I'll be in Myrtle Beach next weekend for a golf tournament. First tournament of 2025 with my new league, the Amateur Players Tour. They sent me yet another notice where they've brought me down into a more competitive division. So like that also has a double-edged sword, right? They tell me that like, hey, we're looking at your last scores from the VGA. We're looking at your, obviously they're just looking at a bunch of numbers and whatnot, which is always really, really hard. But they're like looking at your past scores, talking to the director of the VGA. We've decided to move you from Division 4 to Division 3. And I'm like, thanks. I appreciate that. But hey, we got to push ourselves if we want to get better. But that's next weekend in Myrtle Beach. My Atlanta trip got canceled, so I will not be in Atlanta the first week of December. I'll be at Camp Lejeune. Huge shout out to Maz for organizing a speaking event. I'll be at Camp Lejeune on December 2nd. So if you're a Marine hearing my name at Camp Lejeune, or if you know anybody who is a Marine at Camp Lejeune, I'll be at Camp Lejeune on December 2nd speaking with I've got it, Maz, if you're here and you've got the name of the division that I'm speaking. Oh, here's the event details. Speaking with the 8th Communication Battalion Defensive Cyber Operations Company. So I'll be speaking with them on December 2nd. So if you're around in that area, yeah, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be at the Base Education Center, Chris. Yeah, if you're there. And again, I'll be, I'm checking right now. Checking. Location, room 300 EAB building, Camp Lejeune Education Center. Speaking from 12 to 2 on December 2nd. So huge shout out to Maz for organizing that and getting me involved in that. Huge shout out to Whisper if you hear me. Thank you so much. For inviting me to come speak. On that being said, if you want me to come speak at your school, if you want me to come speak at your military company, if you want me to speak at your base, if you want me to speak at your, your company, invite me, reach out to Maz, reach out to myself. We'd be more than happy to go to that. But I'll be in Camp Lejeune on December 2nd. The following week, I'll be back in Myrtle Beach for another 2-day event. I'll be in Chicago, December 11th, December 12th. December 11th, December 12th. If you're in Chicago, you hear my voice, reach out to me in Chicago. We'll be there. And I think I got some more stuff coming in December and January, but I think we'll hang on to that until much later. But I will be in those areas. If I'm coming to your area, please reach out, make time for me, with me, with me. We'll have a chat. We'll have some one-on-ones. If you want to, you can play golf with me. I'm more than happy to play golf. And when I say play golf, like, you don't have to be good. Like, trust me. Your goal with playing golf with me isn't to impress me on the golf course. It's so that you get 4 hours of unadulterated time with me in dedicated fashion. Right? 100%. Yeah, you can drive the cart. Absolutely drive the cart. Drive the cart. Laugh at me when I shank a ball. But you get 4 hours with me on the golf course if you come play golf with me. We'll do a couple more questions for this Friday. Love all the questions. Make sure you get your questions in before we call it for the week. In terms of stream schedule, next week is Thanksgiving for those in the U.S. For those in the U.S., it is Thanksgiving next week. So what does that mean? Probably no streams next week, right? So Thursday's Thanksgiving. Wednesday's the day before Thanksgiving. I can unequivocally tell you. So most of you realize I'm streaming today. I think I told you last week I wouldn't be streaming today because I had a doctor's visit today. Well, I was wrong. It's a good thing I got an awesome woman like Carmen in my life to keep me honest. She was like, "You're not going to the doctor on Friday." And I was like, "Well, I pretty much told the entire internet I got a pretty major doctor's visit on Friday." And she's like, "Well, you were wrong." And I was like, "Love you too. Thanks. I appreciate that." Anyway, my doctor's appointment's on Monday. And get a little solemn about this because, like, now it's turning out to be kind of like this big deal. And when I say a big deal, it's like I got a doctor's appointment on Monday, and that's to get the scan done. And then I have a doctor's visit on Wednesday to get the readout. And then Thanksgiving's Thursday. So you see kind of where I'm going with this? Trying not to get myself mentally worked up over this. Tried to stay positive, tried to channel good vibes. But I got Monday, Wednesday, Thursday Thanksgiving, Saturday golf tournament. So with that being said, there won't be any streams next week because Wednesday is going to be a pretty bonkers day. Obviously, grabbing food, prepping for Thanksgiving. We're having the entire family over at the house. My house is the designated Thanksgiving spot. So we're going to have everybody over the house on Wednesday for Thanksgiving. So no stream on Wednesday. But this is a fantastic time to remind you, make sure you're paying attention to social media, right? If you're not on my social media accounts, make sure you're on all my social media accounts. Make sure you've got those notifications on, including Instagram. This is probably, there's probably 2 places that I will post this response, right? I'll probably post the news from Wednesday on either X, so 3, sorry, X, Blue Sky, or Instagram, right? Just because it's probably more appropriate for that type of news. So if you want the news on Wednesday, it'll probably be one of those 3 or all 3 of those, depending, where I'll post a response to how the doctor's visit goes on Wednesday. Then, yes, we'll have Thanksgiving on Thursday. Then Friday, there obviously won't be Tea with the Hacker because we're going to get up in the morning on Friday. We're going to drive to Myrtle Beach. And then Saturday will be tournament time. And I will be in the mood. I'll be in the zone for the tournament. So you can catch the updates from the tournament on Instagram as well. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate you in my DMs giving me, like, honestly, I read every DM. I read every DM. Is it normal for cybersecurity professionals to travel for work? It depends. It depends. It absolutely depends. right? It absolutely depends. If you're a consultant, meaning you're working for, a company who sells out services to another company, right? And that could look like a lot of different ways, right? That could look like you're traveling, you're a pen tester for a consulting company, and so you do engagements all the time. And you have to do a lot of on-site pen testing, right? Because you have to do an internal network, you have to do, social engineering, stuff like that. You could be traveling to a lot of client sites. If you're an incident responder and your goal is to respond to companies who are having cybersecurity incidents, and that response requires you to be on site to either talk to leadership, to do interviews, to get access to systems that aren't accessible via the internet, you could be traveling for that. Right? If you're, a strategy consultant and you're talking about how to do cybersecurity strategy, you could be traveling a lot because you got to do a lot of interviews, you got to do a lot of assessments, you got to do a lot of other stuff to where you can have to talk to folks. I know that COVID has created this idea that everything can be done remotely. And there's a lot of truth to that, but there are a lot of, back to our company culture conversation, there are a lot of company cultures that want you to show up for an interview. I'm not talking about job interview. I'm talking about, like, if you're a consultant, they want to see you there on site to know that if they're paying you $750 an hour as a PwC consultant, they want to see you. Right? And so it depends. It depends. Pre-COVID, I was traveling 200 plus days a year, but I wasn't a consultant. I was building a security operations team for a company that had just gone through one of the most devastating attacks because of WannaCry. And so I was traveling all over the globe, building an entire security operations function. My main team was in Bucharest, Romania. And so I was in Bucharest 3 weeks out of the month sometimes. Right? In addition to traveling all over the place, right? It is. Cali Beefcake in Twitch says, early career, it's great to learn. Absolutely. This is why I'm a huge advocate for consultants, right? Early career. You should be on site. That way you get to, back to our networking conversation, you talk to CISOs, you talk to directors, you talk to analysts, you talk to everybody in an organization. You get to learn so much. And so I would say, depending on the job role you have in security, it can be. When I got hired at PwC, part of the interview process is they unequivocally ask you, they're like, are you okay with traveling up to 70% of your time? They will absolutely not hire you if you say no. That doesn't mean that you'll travel 70% of the time, but they want that option, right? They want to send you on the road 70% of the time. Right? I think everybody, like, everybody should be, like, I think there are two things that if I had a magic wand, I would institute as rules for our career field. Mandatory military service in a cyber discipline, mandatory military service in a cyber discipline, and mandatory consulting service. Like, if every new person who came into our career field, and I'm serious, like if you want to fight me on this, drop this in chat, right? But I think if you are new into cybersecurity and I had a magic wand where I could change the industry tomorrow, it wouldn't be about college, it wouldn't be about degrees, it wouldn't be about certifications, it wouldn't be about any of that. It would be, I would mandate that you'd go spend 2 years in the military in a cyber discipline. And then after your 2 years are up, so you'd be 20 years old. After those 2 years are up, you'd go spend 2 more years from 20 to 22 as a consultant, traveling 100% of the time to client sites. if I could, I have a fundamental belief that if that were the standard path, we'd have a militia, a brigade, like whatever the biggest thing, we'd have an entire force of the most trained cybersecurity people in the entire world. You all would be a bajillion times better than you are now if you did those two things. Oh, I think that's fair. No. I think that's a fair question. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's extrapolate that out to folks who are coming into the security career field, right? If you're in your 30s or 40s and you're looking to progress into security, I think it's pretty fair to assume that you've got 10-ish or so years of some level of experience somewhere else. Doing something, right? Whether you've done network defense, whether you've done penetration testing, vulnerability management, whatever the case is. I think somebody like this, if you've never spent any time in consulting, I'd send you to consulting. I would also advocate for you to take military style courses, right? So I think they send aspiring generals to like war college, right? I don't know. I've never been there, but I've known colonels who have gone to war college where they teach military theology or military strategy, tactics, history, things like that. A lot of my belief stems from the fact that I believe that cyber and military strategy are more commingled than people realize. Across everything from if you're a pen tester to an incident responder to a director or a CISO, military strategy is embedded in everything we do in cyber. And so I think some level of militaristic leadership and strategy education is important. That's why I said, like, my 2 years of military isn't about you learning cyber for the military. It's about you learning strategy. That's all it is, strategy and leadership. The 2 years of consulting is so that you can see how effed every company is that exists out there. That's cynical, Neil speaking. In reality, consulting gives you the ability to make recommendations across lots of different topologies, lots of different problem scenarios, lots of different leadership challenges, cultural challenges, architectural challenges, fiscal challenges. You have to solve the problem of cyber in the true battlefield of solving cyber issues. And that's at the business level. And so it's not about, like I want you to understand, like when we talk about objectives, that's the objective. The objective is strategy and leadership in a military lens and drinking from the fire hose of diversity of challenges that exist in every enterprise in cyber. And I think that is unequivocally the best experience that I think every cyber person should have in this industry. Those are the goals and objectives that I think every cyber person should have in getting into this industry. Can you think like a military strategic leader? And have you seen the challenges, the diversity of challenges across every enterprise? And those two things together will set you up for the most success, whether you're tactical on the ground as a pen tester, tactical on the ground as an incident responder, or thinking strategically as a manager, director, or CISO. Hands down believe that. No shadow of a doubt. I love this. Oh, I got a couple. Oh, I love. So I told you, I love AMAs. I love AMAs because, like, I love the wide range of questions that I get on AMAs. I'm curious, as someone who used to film a lot of YouTube videos, do you script every word for word? Film me on my first video soon. Sometimes. I don't like scripting. So we'll do some cyber secrets. We'll do a little behind the scenes, little BTS action. The 60-second cybers that I've started back doing recently, I loved doing them. The problem was taking the time to think about, in 60 seconds, how do I make them relevant? And so I write a script for 60-second cyber so that I don't get carried away like I do on stream, and I can stick to a limited time period. Because if not, I'll get carried away and I'll talk like I talk on stream, and it'll go from 60-second cyber that's actually like 3.5 minutes long. And that doesn't work for social media. And so I have to script certain videos. So like if you go watch the 1,000 Connect challenge video, right? If you go watch the 1,000 Connect challenge video, I'll drop it in chat here. I scripted that. And again, I scripted it because if I don't script it, I'll get carried away and it'll turn into kind of like a stream, and I'll just talk for an hour. That has its place. I'm not trying to say that type of conversation doesn't have its place. This is why I love to stream. I love to stream because I can just like riff off the top of my head. When I did, so more behind the scenes stuff. If you like these behind the scenes, you know, feel free to drop a sub in chat. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say as a YouTuber? Right? Anyway, yesterday's Sec Data Ops, again, limited time. I only have 60 minutes. And so I script a little bit. Maybe I could probably show you guys. So the various interns, if Callie's still in chat, Maz and Panzer are in chat, they've seen some of my scripts. If any of my interns or any of the folks that are working with me now, what I script is I script talking points. Right? So what does that mean? The questions that I asked yesterday were questions to make sure that I went through a flow that told a story of what, so what, now what. That's always a key principle of mine, right? When I tell a story with you, I think about what is the most important thing about this story, so what, why does it matter to you, and what should you do next? And so my what is, I have a limited amount of time to convey a thought to an audience. And so my questions and answers need to be succinct. Why is that important? Time is short. Attention spans are short. Most people aren't going to watch the live. And so I need to make sure that it's clippable so we can put the information out on the internet for people to see. Now what? I have to write some form of a script that creates my talking points so that I can ask the right questions, get the succinct answers, and do it in a 60-minute time period so we can make it out the door. For this, no, this is 100% unscripted. Everything you see here is 100% unscripted. This is me riffing off the top of my head and answering your questions live on stream, which is why I do it. When you watch Jeff and I on Old Guy Wednesday, 100% unscripted. Right? 100% unscripted. I don't generally like scripting because it does lose the authenticity. I'll never give a script to a guest. No guest that has ever been on cybersecurity in the 4+ years that we've streamed has ever been given a script, ever. I'll swear on my dead father's grave, no guest has ever been given a script on cyber insecurity. No guest will ever. I have turned down guests who have asked for scripts. I will not. One of the reasons why I can't get Jen Esterly is because her PR team wants to know what I'm going to talk about. Right? And they don't like the way I do the format. Right? So, no scripting. And again, I give you the behind the scenes, not so you can be like, oh my God, Sec Data Ops is script. It's not that Sec Data Ops is script, but I've got to try to keep things sweet, compact, to a point to deliver a message in a short amount of time. But that doesn't change the authenticity in it. By any stretch of the imagination. Like, what is your best moment as a YouTuber? you guys. And I can't, I don't want to get up and, show it, but I'll get up and show it. Hold on for a second. Hold that thought for just 1 second. Community is the best part of streaming and is the best part of being a YouTuber. And I can't show everything about this because it's got people's real names on there and they haven't consented to this. But I have gifts that people have sent me. And that's worth more than these gifts are worth more than subs or views or anything else like that, as much as cynical as I get over things. And this is definitely probably one of my most prized possessions right here. And for those who have been around for a long time, Carmen, my wife, was a pretty prolific mod, back during COVID. She had nothing really going on in the evenings, after work. And so she would mod for me. She was the first mod. She was queen mod. And she made no qualms about banning folks who disrespected me or disrespected the channel, the chat, or the community, hence the rules that we have here. And so the ban hammer, if anybody wants to drop the emoji for ban hammer, came from her and her willingness to wield around the ban hammer and protect the community. She acted like a mother to this community and protected this community pretty hard. And so the mod team surprised me shortly after I got diagnosed with cancer with a ban hammer. Handmade. Sec IT guy made this by hand. On the back, I'll see if I can do this. Can I cover this up with, here we go. I've got like a little, I got a parking ticket here that I can cover this up with. I'll cover up the names. But it's got the names of the entire mod team down at the bottom. A little cyber and security logo. And the inscription says, to Neil, IT Junkie Bridges, and Carmen, celebrating 2 amazing years of work and many more to come. As part of the no toxicity community we have grown, our most impassioned symbol is the ban hammer. We work to break down the barriers to entry for the betterment of their career. Excuse me. So the best part of doing any of this is you. Every day. I think that's probably a pretty good one to head on out to. You guys have been amazing as always. Make sure you hit that exclamation point Discord. Make sure you hit that exclamation point socials. Head on over to Discord. Come commune with the community. Afterwards, if you know somebody who could benefit from this community, make sure you bring them along the journey. Make sure you do check all our socials. Make sure you do hit that bell, turn on those notifications so you know when I'm going live. Thank you all for showing up in my DMs. Thank you for showing up in chat. Remember, whether you're on the red side or the blue side, or still deciding, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.
There's medicine to take.